My name is Nancy Bos. I'm a voice scientist, researcher, and author of 3 best-selling books on voice. I'm also a professional singer and an empowerment speaker. And yet it took me 30 years to find my voice. Even though I started singing as a kid, and I had a talent for it, I wasn't able to overcome my own performance anxiety. I was well into my 20s, and I couldn't even sing in front of friends. My hands would shake, my mouth dried out, I'd feel nauseous, and my breath would get stuck in my throat. Later, when I started teaching voice, I realized that this problem was not unique to me. It didn't matter how many tools I gave my clients. If they didn't believe in themselves, then all bets were off when they needed to use their voices. Today, working with teams and professionals, I know that it's not just singers and performers who lose their voices when they need it the most. I've seen executives and high-level professionals suddenly not able to share concepts that they know inside and out. I've heard stories of entrepreneurs who are afraid to communicate what they need in their businesses. And one employee told me that he never feels confident enough to speak up in meetings about his own projects, even though he's the expert on the subject. The technique that I developed to overcome my own stage fright not only changed my life, but also the lives of my clients. Many of my singing clients have gone on to star on national and Broadway stages, win RuPaul's Drag Race, and live their best lives as successful actors, singers, and speakers. My corporate clients have launched brands, become subject matter experts in their fields, spoken in front of large audiences, and grown their businesses to new levels. Today, I share my Empowered Voices Boss method with audiences across the globe. On the Empowered Voices World Tour, I share my story and knowledge and learn from people who have empowered their own voices against all odds. The tour isn't over. I'm still on this journey, and you can be part of it. One of my greatest joys is receiving letters and messages from executives, managers, and employees telling me how finally being able to communicate confidently has improved not only their work lives, but also their personal lives. When you empower your voice, you become authentic and confident. You experience a greater sense of peace and satisfaction, and you're able to connect deeply with your purpose in life. You stop wasting time with fearful distractions. My passion in life is to help as many people empower their voices as possible. The more we empower our voices, the more amazing our world becomes.
Previously on the Making Musical Quantum Leaps podcast.
There's another question that you and I had talked about before, and that is, what is the role of preparation? And this is a perfect place for me to say preparation. Yeah, getting ready to perform. You could prepare a piece for months or weeks or days, or somebody could call you right now and said, we need a singer. Can you come and sing this song that you've never sung before in an hour and a half? Right? So there's no time for preparation there, right? But you're still going to try, right? So regardless of how long you have to prepare, you have to make a mental shift.
And today, your host, Coach Worship.
Hello, my beautiful soul. So the previous episode was fire, and this one promises to be even more. So Nancy was just about to share something so epic, something so big. When she shared this, it was so big, I had to pause. Took a minute to digest it. Okay, without further ado, let's get into today's pod.
You come and sing this song that you've never sung before in an hour and a half, right? So there's no time for preparation there, right? But you're still going to try, right? So regardless of how long you have to prepare, you have to make a mental shift into performance. If you're still in practice mode when it's time to go up on the stage, you're going to be questioning yourself. You're going to be listening to yourself, wondering, thinking around it and not being mindful and in the moment. So you have to be in performance mode when you're performing. No more practicing.
Wow, Nancy, that's so, I don't know what to say because I have never looked at it in that light before. Okay, remember I told you I was one of the judges for a competition for the audition level. Yeah, so we got to see a lot of people and they came to sing, and you could literally see, like you said, some of them were still in practice mode. They had not come into their performer mode. So you could see that fear, you could see that trembling, you could see all that in them. There was this particular guy that came and sang a song. That song was done by a very prolific singer. It's a cover. And the moment the guy sang that song, I knew he probably loves that guy, but I'm not sure that guy is his mentor. He probably loves that guy and just decided to do that song. It wouldn't have been a problem doing the song because the song is actually a good song for an audition level for a competition. However, he was totally not prepared for that level of singing. And my God, wasn't it a mess? It was. I was like, oh my God, why didn't you just do something easier? Something that was within your capabilities. He tried to sing higher. It was sounding breathy, shaky. I can't begin to explain. I asked him, I said, you did not practice this song well. You probably even just listened to this song last night and you thought everything would just happen just like that. So yes, we must learn to make that mental shift from the practice session to the performer mode where you're not scared, you're not anxious, you're not thinking, what would people think? Am I doing it right? Oh, did I do that place right? How do I do this place? But you're just there, ready to share your gift. And can you talk about, we've spoken about mentors before, so can you tell us about the place of mentorship in curbing this performance anxiety?
You know, what can appear to be a support system can actually be sabotaging, right? So if your parents and your little sister are in the wings supporting you, what if you don't trust their support? What if you think maybe they're judging you? There are so many people who are more afraid to sing for their families and friends than they are for strangers. If you have indeed a mentor that you truly trust, which I had, they can make all the difference. And that mentor, my teacher, Robert Edwin, he told me when I was nervous once, if you weren't good enough, I wouldn't bother teaching you. Like, okay, you're right. You are a world-class voice teacher. And if you're teaching me, then I must be okay too. That really helped. But the other thing is the mentor is somebody who you know will tell you truth and won't keep their judgments,
They won't keep truth from you because they do not want to hurt you. They will tell you the truth regardless. Yes.
And so you have to trust your mentor or your support people. It's tricky, but it's worth it if you find somebody you trust. Yeah. The step before that, though, if you don't mind, there's 3 basic steps in getting from fear to free of fear. And the first one is to understand, like we were doing before, what is the root of my fear? What is the cause? And that cause might be very obvious. Like your school teacher might have told you, I've heard this from so many people, that their school teacher tells them, you are not to sing, you just mouth the words, right? Clearly that's going to cause problems. But maybe it's subtle. Maybe it's that your grandmother was critical. Maybe, it was nothing to do with anything to do with music, and you had some other trauma in your life that's caused you to be scared to stand up in front of a crowd and be vulnerable. There's so many different things that can cause that. So you have to figure out what that cause is. And then after you figure out the cause, you have to deal with it. So that's best done with help, with a therapist, cognitive behavioral therapy or hypnotherapist, maybe through trauma reprocessing therapy. There's lots of other things like family constellations or coaching or psychedelic drugs. All of these things can be used to help that trauma and that subconscious message have less power over you. I teach this in an online course, and I call it the Bos method, where you have to come up with the beginnings, the overarching perspective that a therapist would have, and then you need to spin the story in a new way. You need to say, yes, this happened to me, but it has nothing to do with what I'm trying to do now. It has no power over me, and in fact, it's giving me power. It is propelling me forward because I am better than that. So you take each one of these negative stories and you spin it in the new story. Once you've done that, you've taken away all the power that that story has over you. And here's the third thing you have to do. After you've discovered the story, you've reworked the story in a new way so that it works for you now instead of against you, and yet your body is trained to react with fear or with symptoms of fear. So for me, through hypnotherapy, after I had gotten through all of these fears, I'd worked them all through, I would still stand up on stage and my knees would shake and my breath would get tight and my throat would get tight and, all the bad things. And in my head, I was thinking, I'm not scared. Why is my body doing this? And the answer to that is what's oftentimes called exposure therapy, which means you just need to do it over and over and over again and retrain your body what it feels like to be grounded and confident. Your body needs to learn that after your head learns it. So that's the third step. And that's where having a mentor or a support system really helps, because the fear is not going to stop instantly. So knowing that somebody else believes in you helps you. I'm going to get up on the stage one more time, one more time, one more time, one more time. It sounds like an addiction, doesn't it? Sounds like getting over an addiction. I'm not going to smoke. I'm not going to smoke. I'm not going to smoke.
Oh my God. I did it again, didn't I? I am so sorry. I apologize, but we'd have to stop this part here today. And yes, there'll be a final part and it would be coming out next week. So you do not have to wait for too long. But for today, we really have to go. Nancy is doing such a great job. I am so honored to have her on this part. There's so much knowledge I'm gleaning, and I'm sure you are. Okay, until the next part, keep practicing all you heard. Bye.